Welcome everyone to another episode of My Blessing in Disguise 2020. A series of conversations with really interesting people who are up to really cool things in the world. We reflect about everything that happened this year in their lives, in their businesses, what they're creating, what they've learned, what they're taking away moving forward, and what their blessings in disguise were this year. So today I have really special guest for you, Adam Kawalec. Adam is a dear friend of mine. He's a life and business coach. And also he's a former executive of IKEA. Adam is right now based in Tenerife, but he comes from Sweden. And I will actually hand it over to you, Adam, to introduce yourself and share with us what would you like us to know about you.
Well, thank you very much, Pasha. I am super glad to be having this conversation with you today, and thank you for the nice introduction.
Thank you for joining me.
So yeah, I am from Sweden. I can't be more Swedish than that. Being from Sweden, working for IKEA, that was fantastic, and I did so for about 9 years as a top level manager, and really my job was I was moved around every second year into different stores and warehouses where I'd be responsible for making operations work smoothly. So it was a lot of people skills, talking to people about performance, behavior, this is okay, this is not okay, stuff like that. And so I got really good at working with using coaching as my primary tool in my leadership. It was kind of like out of necessity, because I was always trying to, in 2 years, I had about 2 years to turn these projects around. And my job was to get human behavior to operate in a efficient way. And the only way I found was good enough to do so. I mean, yes, you could use force. I'm totally against that. I don't see that as leadership. And also it's very short-sighted. So what I ended up relying on was simply coaching, working with what people already wanted to do. And so, productivity increased, enjoyment at their workplace increased. So they enjoyed their work more. Just performance overall increased. So I had a really powerful career within IKEA doing this. And then I decided to leave. At the top of that, I was kind of being offered the opportunity to become a country manager. And I had just turned 30. And my background is like, I don't even, you might know this about me, but I trained to become an actor and a dancer. That was my profession until I started working for IKEA. So like, I don't have that background where one would say, yeah, that makes sense, that kind of corporate ladder kind of thing, career. So when I decided to leave, people really thought I had gone crazy, because like, you put your whole life, you put so much time and effort into this, and this is what you want, this is what we all want, and you're walking away from it. But the truth was, that wasn't a hard decision at all. It wasn't. I had the idea on a Monday, maybe I should quit. And on Wednesday, 2 days later, I handed in my resignation. So it all happened very, very fast, but it was because I really knew this was right for me. I do not recommend anyone really blowing up their career that fast. I really don't.
Yeah, I wanted to say that was bold. That was really,
Yeah,
really bold,
yeah.
right?
I'm not even sure I would do it today. Like if I
Mhm.
had to go back and do it all again, I'm not sure I would do it that way. But it really worked out in my favor after a while.
After a while.
After a while, I'm going to say that because there's a story in there as well. But yeah,
Small
so it's,
print.
yeah, exactly. Because I do not want to paint the picture like, oh yeah, you just handing, because we all dream about doing that. We all
Yeah.
dream about walking into the office of our managers going like, I quit, and walk out and be a huge success everybody talks about. That didn't happen. I
Mm.
fell into like a 5-month depression. I couldn't get out of bed. And, so it was all great. It was exactly what I needed. I'm super grateful for it. I really am, because without it, I wouldn't be where I am. So I love it. Being in it, though, wasn't as great. So just saying, would I know what I know now? Would I have known that then? I'm not sure I would do the same thing. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's and I get to travel. I didn't travel much before when I was working for IKEA, so I kind of compensated for that when I left. So I started traveling quite a bit. So I've had the fortune to live in several beautiful places on this planet. I lived in Southeast Asia. I lived in Southern Europe. Um, I've traveled quite a bit inside of Europe, and currently, as you mentioned, I'm on Tenerife, one of the Canary Islands, which is fantastic. So yeah, that's I think that's about me. That's what I want people to know.
Cool, cool. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love the story of, having this insight. This is not for me, and moving on, and also seeing gifts, and even though it wasn't easy for you, and you said you fell into depression for a little while, but you now see the gifts, and that's amazing. And I love what you said, that you wouldn't recommend it to people. And I can relate to it. That's kind of my experience when I left the corporate world, and again, being quite successful, and on track to like even kind of higher positions, like leadership positions, and just saying, it's not for me. My soul is dying slowly. That was my experience. And you know I remember I left literally a few days, and I mean maybe a week or two before hitting 5-year mark in that company, and meaning like I would have got some shares in the company on the 5 years, but I was like, fuck it, like I can't do another week here. That's me. And then my notice, didn't have income, didn't have another business. I was kind of just starting my sports and remedial therapy business, so I already had a few clients, but it was by like no means profitable at that point. So yeah, I kind of wouldn't recommend it either. But again, sometimes you just have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
So okay, back to your work. So okay, so at the beginning of this year, you're traveling the world. Like, I know you were in Bali at the end of last year and beginning of this year, is that right? Yeah,
Correct.
you were
Yeah.
in Bali and you worked there, you coached there.
Yeah.
You went to Thailand as well for a little bit, and then suddenly COVID hit. So what happened then? How has your life and your work changed there? Then what did you have to change? What you couldn't do, what you were planning to do for this year?
Good. Yeah. Yes, as you said. So I was in Southeast Asia last year, and at the beginning of this year as well. And we had already made the decision to leave in February to go to Tenerife.
Mm.
We were kind of done with Bali and Thailand and all of that. So we decided to go to Tenerife, and we've been on Tenerife before. So I had just given birth to this idea that I was going to make a documentary. So I'd come up with this brilliant idea, which I don't understand why I haven't seen this before. But like combining my passion for personal development and coaching, combining that with my previous career skill and passion for acting and being on stage and working with movies and film, I was thinking, what if I created a documentary where I help people navigate struggles, scenarios in life. And, I pick a couple of people, follow them from before and after a event that I would host. So I started prepping for this already when we were back in Bali. And I was going to launch these events, these workshops, these live workshops in London. I was going to do in Glasgow. I was going to mainly just be able to, catch up with you. I was thinking, maybe that's a great idea. I'll just
and by
use
the
that
way,
as an
you're
excuse.
going to do the workshop, right?
Yeah, it was a good excuse. I was going to do Berlin and Stockholm, so 4 locations. And this was all being planned out. The dates were set. I was starting to reach out to locations and places to start renting a locale. And I was even gathering, the crew for the documentary, all of this. And then COVID hit. So this, and it's, let me tell you this, the name of the workshop was called Life is Easy. And now it's so funny because at the moment, it made perfect sense, like to call it Life is Easy, because it's something, and this is going to infuriate some people. I just happen to think life is easy, right? And so I was like, I'm gonna help people see that. That's what the documentary was going to be called as well. Life is Easy. And so the workshop was called Life is Easy. I was going to help people see that and transform into that. And I was even doing how do you say that? Like I was just prepping for it. I was testing the idea of the workshop as I was going back to Sweden in March. So I even had scheduled a place where I was going to hold my test workshop for people, just to test the idea and the workshop, the concept. And 2 days before, I was in Sweden, and 2 days before I was supposed to have, and people had bought tickets and everything, they canceled because of COVID, because this was in March. They canceled. I couldn't do the test. And then everything else snowballed into being, more and more restrictions. So I kind of needed to scrap the idea of the workshop, especially traveling across borders. That was out of the picture quite quickly. So, and the whole idea of like life is easy, like it's so, to me, funny that was my intention for the year.
I just love it.
And this happened, right? And
oh my goodness,
every time,
it's like the universe said, Adam, do you think life is easy?
Yeah,
here you are.
Here you go. Here you go. You explain
do you
this.
still think it's easy?
Yeah, exactly. Play with this. Let's see what you think about this. But you know what? Actually, ever since, when I'm bringing this up, and I said, like, I was going to put on a workshop called Life is Easy. People go like, and they give me a funny face, like, and I often follow up with saying, like, because it's not, right? So I say, the workshop is called Life is Easy, and people go like, huh? And I say, because it's not, right? And that's why we need a workshop called Life is Easy, so that we can learn the skill of that. And I really, really know, like, you have to understand that as a person, I'm super serious. Like I used to be there's a struggle. There's some duality here. I used to be super serious. I am still serious. And that's what I'm trying to expand. This is what I'm trying to develop in myself, because I do take life too serious.
So in a way, you're creating this workshop for yourself.
Correct. And it's actually based on the TED talk that I heard 2014. That is, I'm not exactly sure about the title, but it is, if you Google it, like Life is Easy, it's going to come up. And there was this guy, P. Joe, who talks about, he's from Thailand, and he talks about his journey from studying and following the typical steps to success, and realizing that, hang on, life is actually easy, and this is not it. He was talking about living like, 11 people living in a small room apartments, eating noodles every day, because that's all they could afford in Bangkok, studying at university. And it was like, back in my village, I was happy. Like, why am I doing this? And he later goes on to create this place for self-sustainable living. So he's got a beautiful place in northern Thailand where he teaches how to build your own houses with natural materials, seed saving. He goes around the whole world basically, but especially in Asia, he's very big, because he's got these really, really sustainable ideas on how to live more sustainably, how to coexist. So 2014, I saw this and I was like, I have to meet this guy. I have to learn what he knows. So a couple of years later, I managed to reach him and asked him if I could live with him for a while. And he said, yeah, sure. So I actually went to his village. I lived with him for a while and learned from him, because I kind of work that way. Like if I find something, I want to go to the source of it, because it's most likely the most potent version of that. So he taught me what it looks like when life's easy versus how it's not. And really, the secret is it's a perspective, which is why I love this conversation, how this whole scenario, this whole experience of 2020 can be a blessing in disguise. Because it's kind of like this, like there's always going to be the good happening and the bad happening at the same time. And what you see, what you notice is where you're deciding to focus. It's kind of like what you water will grow. So if all you're doing is consuming what's bad, what's going wrong in the world, then most likely you're going to have more of that. You're going to notice more of it. You're going to see more of it. You're going to experience more of it. You might even create more of it as well.
Yeah,
that's a really bad news.
Just reminds me of a saying that, if you focus on, like, what you focus on grows. If you focus on good grows. If you focus on shit grows, right? Yeah, I know it's so bad to say, but it's true. Yeah. It's just true. Yeah. Well, it's so beautiful what you shared. And I absolutely love that you actually went to Thailand to live with this guy, and that you lived. It's all a matter of perspective. And it just brings me to the next question, because I remember a few weeks ago when we had a chat, and I shared with you about this project that I've got coming up. And I basically, before I even asked you, before I invited you to be on the show, I said, how has this year been for you? How your life and your business was impacted? And do you think things changed and whatever? Basically, I wanted to kind of see your experience before I invited you to the show. And you said, my life was really good, my business was good, I'm probably like the worst example. And I was like, that is a matter of perspective. Absolutely. Because it's not like your life wasn't impacted, because everyone's life was somehow impacted. It's just from talking to clients, to peers, to my teachers, to my coach, and to so many people, I can see that some people's perspective is focused on all the bad things that happen. Some people focus on the good things that happen, and some people's perspective is like, who is there to say what's good or bad? Like, what you might perceive that is bad right now, which is the pandemic, which is COVID, actually might be a blessing for you or for other people or for every one of us collectively for this planet, that we will see a little bit later. So who's there to judge, right? So it's all a matter of perspective. So I just absolutely love what you shared. And I think if people were to take something from this show in general, like from all my conversations, I'm really hoping that people will notice this theme, that it is a matter of perspective, and those who choose to focus on the good stuff, they have been okay this year. And that's not to say, okay, like I do understand that there were many people who were impacted in a more negative way, more adverse way than others, and I know someone who nearly died because of COVID, and at the moment she's so grateful for COVID, for this experience, because her life changed for the better, her perspective changed for the better. So, I'm not judgmental of people who, who actually are finding it difficult to find hope right now. I'm just hoping that these people will find something in these conversations to get some ideas, to get inspired, and to maybe find some hope to move forward.
I honor you for making that super clear, and even for initiating these conversations. This is why I wanted to be part of this conversation, because I just see the good in this. When you mention it, I was like, yes, somebody needs to create this conversation, to moderate this conversation. I think it's absolutely super important right now. I mean, it's, as you said, I honestly don't think, like, anytime we label anything as something, we are limiting its potential, because we don't know. We really don't, unless you can see into the future. Nobody knows. Like, what you might think is good now might actually turn out to be a mistake. What you think is bad now might actually be the very best thing for you. Right? As I, we started this conversation when I said I went into like a 5-month depression. That was horrible, but it was also exactly what I needed to transform into the butterfly I am today. Right? And I'm glad for that. Maybe not going through that, which is 2020 for a lot of people. They're still going through it, right? But I am sure that in this, it is like, you can focus on all the bad things. You can label it as bad. You don't know if it is, though. You can focus on the good things. You can label them as good. You still don't know. But what you water will grow. And so if anything, avoid putting at least the bad label on things, because we don't know that. Like, I get that, people lost jobs, houses, family members, people they know. And I'm sorry for that. And I'm with people around that. I respect it. I honor it. And still, we do not know where this is going to take us. I've had the fortune to work with people as a coach this year, and I've seen tremendous shifts, like tremendous shifts. Like, I've worked with some of these people. I worked even during 2019, 2018, and they didn't have the transformations they created during this year. Thanks to COVID, thanks to the situation they were put in. I mean,
Could you speak a little bit more to it and why you think it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's because you have some of my clients, because they were in lockdowns, they got to spend more time working on their relationships with their spouse, with their partner, or with themselves. Some people, in my case, I gained weight, but that's just how I manage with stress and stuff like that. But some of my clients actually got more fit because they actually did show up and put the work in. They took care about what they ate, or they started exercising at home, things they couldn't get themselves to do before because their lives were so hectic. So many of my clients have been saying the same thing, which is everything slowed down. I got perspective. I got clarity. I cleared my plate and I chose what to put back on.
I love it. This is so powerful. Yeah, I think we were all stripped back to basics in everything and almost put on sort of like the same level in a way, even though, okay, there will be people who argue that, well, let's look at celebrities. They couldn't work, but like they have really easy life. But actually, I would say that everyone probably, well, maybe not everyone, but most people faced fear. Whether you're a celebrity or you're just a normal Joe Blogs, you will face the same fear of your mortality, maybe, or fear about the well-being of your family, or just this like fear of the unknown and uncertainty, right? So I think like it was just quite an equalizer in a way, right? And yeah.
Yeah, no, I really think, like, because it slowed down, it brought this possibility of rearranging priorities. And that's what I've seen in some of my clients' lives, how they did that for themselves. And as you said, it almost neutralized and equalized. It put us on a very even level to each other, because, we were all affected by it at, at the same level, kind of. And some of my clients, a lot of the business clients I work with, I think when I'm thinking about it, I don't think I have one business client who didn't have a great year this year. Like they actually grow their business in so many different ways. Like some clients, they pivoted, they changed business model, business ideas due to this, and that's actually served them better. I have other clients who were in the realm of online coaching. They did fabulously well thanks to this, because a lot of people, we went online instead to connect and come together. I've got other people who other clients who they sell products, and they've arranged things in such a way that was still happening. They sold out, it was success after success. So I think, again, it's not like these people weren't affected. They were. Some of them were in lockdown. Some of them had fights with their family or their spouse. Some of them gained weight. Some of them lost weight. Some of them, whatever. It all happened at the same time as other good things happened as well. And when I have these conversations with these clients, my people, I think we all agree that 2020, it was a different year. Like it was strange. It's not what we planned. But at the same time, it was definitely a blessing in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So my next question is, what have you learned about, not necessarily, I mean, maybe you learned some new skills, but more so, what have you learned about yourself, about people, about the world this year?
So something that I developed this year, thanks to what happened, and it just came to me when I was making one of my videos that I shared on social media, resourcefulness. And this has become a concept of mine for the whole of 2020. Like, if we talk about, I don't have this, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have a house, I don't have this and that. All those things are resources. And resources are finite by its nature. So if you're relying on finite resources for your happiness, your success, you're kind of setting yourself up for a very, very vulnerable game. So what I propose instead for, relying, and especially I think this is what 2020 showed us. If you rely on finite, limited resources, then you're in someone else's hands. You're in someone else's control. Because life, the world, it plays by its own rules. Right? Change is the single constant thing that life is, I think. So if what you're doing is relying on your resources, then there's going to be a time for every single human being. I am sure this is true. There is going to be a time when the resources are scarce. Doesn't matter if you're the richest or the poorest, there's going to be a moment in your life when the resources aren't enough. What I propose instead we do is work towards rely on your resourcefulness. Because the resourcefulness has nothing to do with what your resources are. It's about your staying in the realm of possibility. And I made this distinction of this analogy when I created my video, like MacGyver. I don't know if you grew up watching it. I definitely did. I loved it.
It makes me feel so old now.
Yeah, I know. I realized it when I did some research on that, like, oh, crap, That's
What
okay.
was it,
Cool.
in the 90s?
Yeah. Well, actually, in the late 80s. So yeah, Dean Anderson and playing MacGyver. Here's what I got from MacGyver. He wouldn't read, like when he was trapped in a room, like and there was a bomb in the room, counting down and about to explode. He didn't start complaining about the things he didn't have. Oh, I wish I had a key. I wish I had a scissors so I could do that. Like, he never did that. He instantly moved into the realm of possibility when, like, okay, cool. What do I have? What's around me? What I got from that is he relied on his resourcefulness versus listing all the resources, going like, I don't have that. No, I don't have that. No, I might as well give up. No, he was like, all I have is a what would you call that? Like a paper clip. All I have is a paper clip and a rubber band. I'm going to figure this out. That's resourcefulness versus relying on your resources.
Mm.
So what I've been coaching my clients around, and what I'm seeing more and more in this world, people who pivoted towards resourcefulness, which is again perspective, they look at 2020 in a different way than people who relied on resources, counting their resources. They experienced 2020 in a different way. So what I learned about myself, what I learned about other people, and what I learned about this world this year was be resourceful. That is the one constant skill you can rely on, especially when the resources are scarce.
That's so powerful. It just makes me think about how often we accumulate things for just in case for later. And actually, we realize that we can never prepare for the worst, but we can be ready to, and that goes back to the resourcefulness, and to know what we need and to create what we need when we need it. And I think this is where, like, so often we get it wrong, right? Like, we try to get ready just in case, we learn things, we accumulate information, we save money for later, we save whatever, and then it just doesn't work this way, right? It doesn't work this way, because when you need it, it's not there for some reason. These things that we try to accumulate, again, a matter of perspective, right? Because, like, when is enough, when is enough, like when you're like accumulating resources, you start to lose the perspective of what's enough and when it's going to be enough. So you just get so caught up in, like, chasing that thing that you think you need, that you just lose perspective completely. So I just love it. And it's like one of the things that I learned really from my coach this year, to stop thinking about all the things outside of me and just looking at myself, because I already have everything I need. And this resourcefulness, it links back, in my opinion, to tuning into yourself, like listening to your inner wisdom, and just finding it there.
That's it. I mean, my number one principle that I've coached around since day one is based on the Chinese proverb, all you need, you already have. Like, that explains to me I think, the nature of coaching. And it also informs my way of looking at people, the potential that we all have. Like, I'm not here to add to what's already inside of you, right? What I'm hoping to do is shine a light on it so that you can see it as well. And I did this as a leader and a manager as well. Like, I didn't necessarily see people I work with as who they were. Like, I saw who they, the best in them. I saw who they could become. So if you made a mistake, I really made an effort to not judge you based on that mistake, but rather see the potential that was within you, like the diamond that was trapped under all of this. And when you talk to someone, this works in coaching, this works in relationships, it works as a manager as well. when you talk to that best version of that individual, that diamond, you talk to that person, you're drawing that out from them.
100%, yeah.
You're giving them the opportunity to step into that potential versus talking down to them, right? Judging them, limiting them. Because people, often we are quick to live down to expectations as well, just as we are quick to live up to expectations.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. So, I mean, it's in a way, I think that the resourcefulness, as you said, all we need, we already have. I think having that perspective, because it's just a perspective, and realizing that resourcefulness is that kind of thing. As you said before, when we're chasing things on the outside, there's going to be a moment where I'm not going to say that has to happen, but what often is a confusion is, when is enough enough? Right? Money. There's always going to be more money to be made. Being fit, you can always be more fit. There's always going to be one person more fit than you are. So it's like, there's never, like working on the outside like that. If you're looking at resources, there's always going to be something more beyond you. And if that's your measurement for success or safety or enough, you're never going to get there, I think. And this is, again, why I'm inviting people to start relying on resourcefulness rather than the outside external resources.
That's powerful. Yeah. You know, you said something like we always compare to others. I think there's this saying, the comparison is the killer of joy, right?
For sure.
Yeah. And also what I just remembered only this morning, I saw this video on YouTube about something about Taoist philosophy, and they say, you know, that like how we get so unhappy is because we chase happiness, like we chase something out there, right?
Correct. That's exactly what it is. Studies have shown that as well. Pursuing happiness actually makes you less happy.
Exactly. Love it.
And this is a paradox, but like what actually makes you happy is being happy.
And then everything else flows from that, right?
So, but that's a conversation we need to have at another point. But like, pursuing happiness makes you unhappy. Being happy makes you happy. So how do I get to that place? Well, you know, I know you've got plenty of things to say about that. I know you share about that. But it's definitely one of those things that is so, how do you say that? Paradoxal or Paradoxical. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm curious. So okay, your year began with the motto, life is easy. So is life still easy for Adam?
It is. It's still easy because I make it so. I really do. Like, and that's funny. I never thought about that. I make it so, and the making of that is sometimes demands some effort. Like it requires effort to make life easy, right? But because I'm focused on what's good for me, what's easy for me, that's what I see. I'm not noticing the effort because I'm in the ease of life. So I'm not saying that my life is easy. It's a mindset. I've said this before, and I think I might have gotten this from Steve Chandler in one of his books. Some people will use language to report and document the world, right? So life's hard. Life sucks. This and this and that is bad and hard and whatever. That's reporting on. That's stating the facts. Some other people, they will use language to create their world. And that sounds like, I'm going to make it so. What can I do to make it easy? What would make life easier? What would I enjoy doing today? How can I make an impact in my life or someone else's life? All of a sudden, because we're using that kind of language, We are creating it. So we can use the words to either report on the world or start speaking things into reality. And that's what I've been doing, I think, for 2020. And I'm not saying I'm being what do you call that? Delusional. That's not what I'm saying. I am facing what's happening. It's a very real thing. But as I said, you will have both the good and the bad things happening at the same time. That's going on. Like, I'm not delusional about that. That is going on. And what you focus on will grow. That's what I've experienced this year.
So what are you going to 2021?
2021 is about, it's about relationships for me. It's about engagement. It's about engaging in meaningful relationships and conversations. And that's about business, and that's about my personal life as well. So this year was actually about connection. That was my intention. So I wanted to connect, and I did that. I got to do it online versus offline, which was my original intention. So I got to do it online. And actually, thanks to that, I managed to reach people I would never been able to reach offline. So another great win. Next year is about engagement, which is quality of that connection for me. So now I've created connection. Now I want to nurture that. I want to maximize it. So yeah, that's definitely for 2021.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting. I just can't wait to see what you're going to create, because I know you always create. We've known each other for 2 years now. 2 years or a year and a half, I think.
Yeah, year and a half, yeah.
Yeah, and you always create new things. You always come up with new things, and it's just beautiful. And when you add this, connection to it, and also love and attention that you put into everything that you do, and even though sometimes, I hope you don't mind me saying, you sacrifice yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
You just put people, on the first place, kind of thing. People you're serving, and it's so beautiful. And I'm not surprised that your world, your professional world, is full. You're always full, right? Because you serve so powerfully. So that's really beautiful. And this connection theme, I think it has been a theme for so many people this year. And now that you're moving forward to nurture those connections, is just going to be so powerful for all the people you're serving. And also, I just want to mention, I totally relate to the theme of connection. So I always, at the beginning of the year, I kind of set myself either a theme or a word, and my word at the beginning of this year was, a theme was love and connection. And oh my goodness, this year delivered, And so I just like you, I connected with so many people I wouldn't have dreamed of connecting with if I was just operating in my usual way, the way I did before. So yeah, so that's really powerful this year. And the last question, Adam, a piece of advice or wisdom that you would like to share with everyone who's watching to move forward smoothly into 2021.
Okay, yeah, that is, I like that you added smoothly as well. Oh, so actually, I was telling you before that throughout this year, I've come to see a system that I developed a long time ago. I started piecing that together because it helped me navigate this year, and it also helped some of my clients do the same. And I've come up with these 4 keys to navigate this hardship or these struggles that we've gone through. And especially, as you said, you worded it perfectly, I think, how to move forward smoothly. I want to say that nothing new comes from being stuck in the past. So if you want to truly move forward, you're going to need to find a way to let go of the past. And one of the ways I know to do that is become aware of what's happened, like honor what's happened. Like, I'm not saying to ignore it, honor it, be aware of it. And then accept it, because it's in that acceptance. Because trust me when I say, if you're in denial, your energy is being drained. Like, it's energy draining to be in denial around what's actually going on. Right? So accept that, accept what is going on. and dare I say, accept responsibility for it. Because in that responsibility, and here's why I love the English language. Responsibility is your ability to respond, right? So when you accept responsibility, you're increasing, you're maximizing your ability to respond to whatever is going on. Because if you're in denial, you don't have any power over it. But if you're accepting ownership, responsibility, you're creating the energetic power or energy to change it. So, and after, you know, accepting it, claiming the ownership of that, appreciate it, which is exactly what we've been doing today, right? See the lessons, what's trying to emerge from this, because there is something. And I dare to say, if you fail to see the lesson in this, there is going to be other lessons which are going to wanting you to repeat this, right? It's like a relationship. Like if you always find yourself in some kind of relationship, like, I don't get it. Why do I always find these kinds of women or men or this or that, right? It's because you didn't learn the lesson.
So
that's the invitation.
To summarize, don't waste this year.
There you go. Exactly.
You know, Adam,
there you go.
The reason why I created this show is because I heard over and over again and read it online. I can't wait for 2020 to go away, or even like, that's a very polite way to say, because I'm sure you've heard other ways people say it. And I want to forget about it. And I was like, but you know, I totally get it, but there must be lessons, there must be blessings, there must be things to, you know, that happened that were actually good, but maybe you're so focused on the things that were not that good, that you just really want to forget everything. But if you forget everything, you just never learn a lesson, right?
That's what I'm afraid of, right? And if people, we talked about this, if people want to know more about that 4 keys or framework that I developed, I'd be happy.
What are the 4 keys? You never mentioned. What are
so the fourth one would be action, taking action, learning from that. So you would basically, based on the lesson that you've learned, the acceptance and all of that, you would then come up with kind of like what we had said, what's 2021 going to be about? Like you create a commitment, a mantra around that, and you put a plan in place, right? Making it so. You create it versus passively hoping, because hope is a poor strategy, right? It's not, I hope it's going to turn out well. That's leaving it to chance. I'm not really for that. I think that luck is there's a mathematical formula for it, which is preparedness plus opportunity equals luck, right? So you can create that. So if people are interested in that, like, I'd be happy to share a small overview of that tool. And
please do. Yes, if anyone is interested, leave a comment after this conversation, and I can share it with you. Adam has kindly offered to share his worksheet with us. So please leave a comment and I will send it over your way.
Great.
Adam, thank you. It's been such a beautiful conversation. Before we wrap up, where people can find you if they are interested to find out more about your work?
Well, yeah, they can visit my website, adamkawalec.com, or they can just simply connect with me on any other social media platforms. That's usually where I hang out and share some of my ideas and concepts, like what we've talked about today.
Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom and these reflections. I really enjoyed this conversation with you, and I'm so happy I got to share you with my community. I hope your 2021 will be beautiful and you create loads of ease and joy and beautiful connections as you go. And for everyone who's watching, thank you so much for watching, and also happy 2021. All the best. Loads of love, and I will speak to you guys soon in another episode.